So pretty much, man, when someone hits the ground, it's over with no matter what race you are. Everybody agrees. Dude hits the ground, we're breaking the fight up. You guys fought like men.
Yes, exactly.
You ever see people have hard feelings about it after they lose?
Yep.
They want a round two?
Yep. I sure did a couple times. And you can ask for it, but it might not end up the same way.
Yes, yes. You talked about other gangs in there, right? Like the Bloods, the Crips. Who was the toughest group in that Tennessee Department of Corrections in the places you've been at?
Honestly, I mean, you may just be honest with you. I hate to say it, but in Tennessee, the G's ran everything.
So the GDs were the most powerful group.
They were. They were. Sorry. Sorry, man.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
So the GDs were the toughest group of dudes. Did they put a press on the white dudes? Did they press other black gangs?
No, 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 no. They had the numbers, right? The thing about the G's were they had bylaws. So they did good business. That's who I did all my business with outside of my race. Every bit of them. Yeah, because if they did something, their homeboys would take care of them. Like they were straight. They really were, man. They really were. They were about their business. They didn't want no bullshit. They were about their business.
Let me ask you this, right? You ever see other groups get involved in a riot and beefing with each other?
Man, a day I'll never forget. After I came out of the gang unit, remember I was telling you about Trousdale earlier, right? The new prison they opened. This prison was a CCA prison. So they sent the worst of the worst there. Plus, you had some new guys that were just getting straight extorted that they were sending from, classification there. And, man, November or Thanksgiving Day, 2016, looked like a normal day, right? Because the way it worked there, man, we were popping locks on ourselves. We were popping locks on the pod doors, the unit doors. Like when I say it wasn't unnecessary or it wasn't uncommon to be out on the boulevard at 2 a.m., I mean that.
What the
Like
boulevard is.
that was just the walk that went from unit to unit, the yard.
Walk right outside at 2 in the morning.
Dude, it was so bad that they couldn't keep guards. They had to bring in a temporary staffing agency called G4S to try to house this place, right? Dude, I seen guys walk back from visitation with water bottles, like full water bottles full of ice, just in their hand, walking back to their unit. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy times. It was crazy times. It was great because that was the most freedom. I never felt so free in prison. I mean, my door locked when I wanted it to, but if I wanted out, I just got out. It didn't matter what time it was.
Walk out there and look at the stars at midnight and be like, damn, man.
Yep. But the crazy part was, man, November or Thanksgiving Day, 2016, it was normal, man, for them to be having gang meetings, right? Like every pod held 120 inmates. You might have one pod that had 400 inmates in it. And it's just because all the gang members are having meetings, right? Well, the Bloods and the Crips have been into it. There's a couple prisons in Tennessee that are NBA. You know what that means?
You tell me.
No Bloods allowed. So there's a couple of NBA prisons in Tennessee where if they get off the bus, they're smashed. I mean, straight off the bus. Well, in my pod, we had just how they give you that good Thanksgiving dinner for lunch or whatever that really ain't that good. So we were all coming back. We were all coming back from chow, man. Me and my homeboys were hanging out on the top tier. And we seen a bunch of dudes walking around down there with jackets, man. And I'll never forget it. I mean, to this day, like it's etched in my mind. There was about 15 Bloods standing by the pod door, which was like the whole wall was glass, right? So you could see out in the rotunda because there was 3 pods in each unit. And then there was the Crips were at the back of the pod. There was like 50 of them. Man, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I don't know if they had like a certain time that they had set. I don't know what it was. They ran straight at them dudes and started stabbing them. I mean, started stabbing the shit out of them. It was so bad. It went on for about 2 hours. The guards couldn't hold nothing. They stabbed them until they couldn't hold their arms up no more. I seen this one white blood. He got stabbed through his back, and the knife came out his belly button. Like,
did anybody die?
They said nobody died. That's what they reported. But I swear I saw 6 or 7 people die. You know, they try to keep it low key, man. Tennessee's pretty corrupt when it comes to corrections. It really is.
I'm gonna have to Google this stuff, man. So the cops in Tennessee pretty much had no control at that particular prison.
No, this was a private prison. Core Civic. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Listen, I've been in private prisons. I've been in CCAs, and they're just off the hook. I mean, you got staff that are just coming like they were working at Walmart. Now they got a job as a cop. They know nothing about law enforcement, people, nothing. And it's just total mayhem in there, right?
Yes. And the only guards that would stick around were affiliated. So like you'd have a G guard or a vice lord guard, and they'd be helping their homeboys run shower security and shit. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. It was kind of cool though, because like the counselor's office, we'd line up at the door and use the phone.
Things like that. Did it affect you at all?
I mean, I was straight. We had numbers there too. Did
it affect you mentally to see people stabbed and brutalized?
Oh, yes. Me and in my pod, that happened in my pod, like the pod I lived in, and there was like 8 of us in there. We went and locked down in my cell, shut the door, took all the stuff out the locks and stuff and washed it, man. It was brutal, man. It was brutal. Like,
what was it over? Was it something simple? Do you know what it was over?
I still to this day don't know what it was over, man. I still don't. I seen one more incident kind of like that, but it wasn't all at one time. It was right after that, and I don't know if you know a lot about vice lords. They got like a bunch of different sets, right? You got like there's like 6 or 7 sets, right? But each set's got a leader, like in Chicago. I knew a couple white vice lords that kind of kept me in the game, right? Well, there was this one set. They called themselves JYD Vice Lords, and apparently the big homie had got smashed off by all the other big homies in Chicago, and they put out a hit on every JYD Vice Lord in Tennessee. So for about 3 months, and this was a whole white Vice Lord set. This was a all white Vice Lord set. So you just seen these dudes getting stabbed. I mean, they're not trying to save their life. They're stabbing them in the necks. They're cutting their throats. Bad, man. Bad. I seen a captain at Trousdale, a captain going to chow hall, and a dude poked both her eyes out.
For what?
Because she was yelling at him. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, trying to get him in line.
Who hit her? A gang member?
It was a vice lord. Yep.
Wow, unbelievable. I know you talked a little bit earlier about patches and things like that. I mean, do you want to show the people what a patch looks like?
I mean, I can. That's up to you, brother.
What's it look like? What's a patch look like?
Like in Tennessee, you got your war patch. And then, y'all have to excuse me because I gained a little weight, but and then you got my rank patch right there.
What rank was that?
I didn't have state rank, but on the compound I was vice president.
You didn't have any rank, nationally throughout the whole state.
No. There was most of those guys got life sentences. You know what I'm saying? But
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm my bad, dude.
It's not you, it's me. I shouldn't interrupt you. Go ahead. Say what
But most of those guys that got the state rank, they'll never get out. They'll never touch the ground. And that's for a reason, is because you always have that line of communication. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean it works that way. Guys that got life, they put in serious work, and they're the dudes that, that are going to be there forever. You had 6 years, you get out. Do you still consider yourself a gang member?
Man, I do, but it's kind of hard to explain, man. Like, I'm not full-fledged like I was. I'm not trying to go back to prison. I'm not trying to kill nobody. I still got my ideologies and beliefs, which aren't hate related, believe it or not. And I still keep contact with some of the good brothers, you know what I'm saying? The good ones. Some of them aren't good. And that's where you come into the issue of why it's not good, because you might have, in Tennessee, you've got 10 prisons, right? So you might have 3 prisons that are taking all solid dudes, right? But you might have some piece of shit junkie at another prison that's taking guys just because they'll serve him dope or something, And it just gets watered down. It's not good. It's not good.
Was there ever a time in prison when you were afraid?
Yep, there sure was, man. And that's one of those watered down situations I'm figuring to tell you about. I was at Hardeman County. The feds came in at Trousdale, and they had done the feds came in because everything was so wild, right? They figured out that out of 2,000 people, 1,500 people on that compound were STG confirmed, in the system. So they start shipping people all over the state, right? So I get to Hardeman County, and I got a job in the library. And
you don't strike me as a librarian type of dude.
Well, one of my homeboys worked in the library, and he stole the test that you had to take to work in the library. So I memorized the answers, went up there, took tests, and got the job. You know what I'm saying? And it sucked because I had to work in that library with a bunch of chomos and shit. But I did that job because that library badge, I could go anywhere on the compound. And I could say I had your legal paperwork, right? Police can't touch legal paperwork. I can put whatever I want in there and hand it to you at your unit door. And that's how I moved my shit. And I had to move through the librarian. But I was up there one day, and one of the chomos that was up there told on me. And I had just got 20 strips from a G, right? So I get caught. I tried to hand them off to a guy to take back to my unit, right? He wouldn't take them. So the sort team came in, they found the strips. So guess who owes them for the strips now?
I mean, you do if you lose them, right?
Exactly. Because I never got to pass them off who they went to, right? So I went to the hole, and I was in the hole for 10 days pending investigation. I got lucky because the librarian was the one that actually found the strips. The warden went on vacation while I was in the hole. The librarian got fired while he was on vacation because she was renting places to inmates getting out of prison.
Wow.
So they couldn't use her testimony. And she's the one that found the strips. So the warden come to me and he said, he was like, Harper, you're lucky. I just want you to know you're lucky, but you'll never be on my compound again. And they shipped me to Attorney Center after that. But when I got to Attorney Center, man, I was kind of scared. I ain't gonna lie. Because I'm not gonna hide from my shit, you know what I'm saying? So as soon as the G's come up to me, I tell them what happened. And I mean, 20 strips, dude, that's a lot of money. I mean, $50 a strip, that's $800. So
that's a lot of money in jail.
I mean, if you get killed over 2, I mean, imagine what you get killed over 8. Luckily, the dude that I was doing business with was pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he didn't tell it. Let me plug my phone up real quick, man. Sorry. But luckily he didn't tell his homeboys to smash me or kill me, right? He just told them to get the money. Hey, let me pay it over amount of time. And I was cool. But when I got off at bus, I was pretty scared. I ain't gonna lie.
I mean, would your gang members' brothers help you if something happened?
They would have, but like I said, man, on every compound, you got 300 or 400 G's.
It'd have been all bad for everybody.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have even put him in that situation. That was the kind of dude I was. I wouldn't have even put him in that. I wouldn't have went to him. There ain't no way. There ain't no way.
So you get there, you're a little worried because, hey, man, you owe this money. How do you end up getting the money together to pay him back?
I mean, I hustled, man. Which my grandma sent me money. You know what I'm saying? But I still had my little hustle. I mean, we had a move at every prison. You know what I'm saying? So I was flipping dope. I mean, I was flipping dope.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to get in where you fit in, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. You come home from prison. You come home in 2019.
Yes, sir.
I mean, what do you call your grandmother there? Do you guys call her Granny in Kentucky?
No, Nana. That's my Nana.
Okay, so your Nana sees you now with all these tattoos. What's her reaction to seeing you with all these tattoos?
Man, it about made me cry, dude. It about made me cry. Because my grandma, she's used to seeing me like this.
You got to move it over so I can see it better. The other way. Yep, there you go. That was you?
That's me, buddy. I mean, she didn't know me with tattoos and stuff. She didn't know me as, a hardened criminal. I never intended on being a hardened criminal. My whole life, my whole outlook on life was to be not like my dad. And I ended up being just like him, man.
Sins of my father, right?
Yes.
Ended up being just like him. What's your relationship like with your dad? I mean, he did what he did to your mom, and what's it like now for you?
Man, I still talk to him from time to time. But every now and then, man, I'll be talking to him and I'll feel guilty. So I'll cut him off. And I feel bad for it, but then I'll feel bad for not talking to him and I'll talk to him. It's spontaneous. Depends on how I feel at the time, I guess,
You mentioned earlier that your dad was a gang member at one time. Is he still a gang member?
Yes, still.
I mean, is he like a hardened prisoner? This is my life. This is who I am, son.
Yes. Yes.
Chance that he'll ever get out of prison?
He went up for parole in 2004 and he got fought for 20 years. So he goes up again next year. I guess we'll just see.
Does he ever tell you that he's sorry about what he did to your mom?
No, man. My dad is such a manipulative guy. He always, every time I've ever talked to him about it, that's how I get mad at him, because he tries to justify it. Like, you can't justify what you did, man. Like, not only did you kill her, you went and buried her. She was missing for 30 days. Nobody knew where she was. And everybody believed you. And then then you turn yourself in and everybody's like, really? Like, come on, man.
Talk about what you're doing with your life now. You've been home since 2019. You haven't been back in prison, which is great. I commend you for that. But what are you doing now? You working? What are you doing?
Man, I'm a foreman at a construction company. Before that, before COVID, I went back into industrial maintenance. Really, man, my education was the best thing I ever did when I was younger. Because even though I'm a felon, people still look for that education, I guess. So I've got a good job, man. Got a great old lady. Hopefully we'll be married soon. Got 2 stepdaughters. Got a dog that's like a son to me. Man, I'm happy, dude. I'm happy.
And freedom feels good, doesn't it?
Man, it's awesome, dude. It's awesome.
Does it feel good to have a dog and to be able to walk outside at midnight, look at the stars every night if you want?
Yes, sir, it does. It feels great, man. It feels great. Just being able to focus my attention on positive things. Man, it's so amazing the feeling I get from that, I don't have to, because when you're in prison, I'm sure you can relate to this. You don't really think about the things that you worry about every day. You just do it, you know. But once you get out, you're like, man, that was pretty harsh. Like you never know if somebody's gonna wake up in a bad mood and just want to stab somebody. You know, you might be at the phone, somebody needs to use that phone, and they just get pissed off and smash your brains in. I mean, you never know, And then when you get out, it's like you take a deep breath, and you don't have to worry about those things no more.
What hurt you most about being in prison, man? What was the most loneliest times for Brandon when he was in prison?
Man, the loneliest times, it sucked for me because I was in Tennessee and I'm from Kentucky. So I hardly got any visits, man. And it sucked, dude. It sucked bad. Um, being in a hole, dude, just being locked down 24 hours a day. They say 23 and 1, dude, that's 24 hours. I don't care what they say. They lock you in the shower too, so you're still locked down. I mean, it
Doesn't it feel nice, man, when you're locked in the hole to just take that small little walk to the shower? Isn't it like, damn, I'm free for a second?
it does. I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, you're still cuffed.
You're still locked in. But that's how crazy it is that we think that by walking down the hallway, man, you get some relief from being in that concrete mausoleum.
You're right, man. You're right. And it's so nuts at the time. When you get out, you're like, man, did I really think like that? Like, did I really do that shit? And it's like, it took me, I'm not going to lie, man, it took me about a good 2 months of being home to readjust just to be able to go into a store. Just to be able to walk in. Dude, the anxiety I had the first time I tried to go to Walmart when I got out, people will never understand it because I didn't know what their intentions were. I mean, it was nuts, man.
What's going to keep you from ever going back to prison?
Man, this is going to sound crazy, but just not wanting to end up like my dad, man. I mean, truthfully, my dad's probably he's 63 years old, 62 years old. And he goes off parole next year. He ain't never getting out. I don't care what nobody says. He stabbed a guard in 99 is why he didn't get out the first time. I mean, but not only that, but wanting to continue the positive relationships I have out here, man. Like my fiance is my world, my kids. I love being able to provide for them. You know, put smiles on their face. You know, to me, man, just the small things. Just the small things, man.
Would you ever want them to know that you were a gang member?
I mean, they do. They do. I mean, it's hard for them not to know. You know what I'm saying?
Try to ask real questions on here, man. You know what I mean? Because some people might be like, people might be like, man, I don't want certain people to know certain things. Like there's been, a time or two where, my wife might have told someone that, yeah, my husband was in prison. And I'm like, damn, man, why the hell did you tell them that? They don't need to know that. Not these people that you're dealing with. You know what I mean?
Man, I completely agree. I completely agree. But at the end of the day, man, I try not to be ashamed of things I did. I try to grow from them. So if somebody sees, hey, 5 years ago, man, this dude would have cut you up, but look at him today, that just shows you that, hey, man, people can change. People aren't the people. It's situations that make people the way they are, man.
I believe that to a certain extent. I mean, to a high extent. But you know what, Brandon, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. Before we get ready to go, I mean, what message would you give to your younger self, to a kid that's on the wrong road, man? You've been through some serious things. I can't even imagine what it would be like to watch my father do that. I love my mama, boy. So to have something like that happen, man, I can't even imagine what it did to you mentally and emotionally. Even though you're only 4, I mean, it still affects you. I remember certain things when I was that age. But, what message would you give to, a youngster like yourself?
Man, the best thing I say is man, have goals. Always have goals, positive goals. And don't let your surroundings imprison you, whether it's in prison or out here, man, because you can surround yourself with negative people out here. You've got to learn to get outside of that box. Man, get an education. That's the best thing I did in my life. When I was young, I got an education. And to this day, it's the best thing I've ever done. And I treasure that education, man. I mean, I don't live in New York, but I'll truthfully say this, that I make $25 an hour in Kentucky. I mean, where the cost of living, where an average rental place is $650 a month. And that's all due to my education, man. And you've got to always want to better yourself. If you don't always want to better yourself, you'll never be nothing. If you are content with who you are and you never want to be better, you'll never be better.
Listen, man, I mean, that's a really good message, set goals, want something in life, something positive, because it's easy to do the negative, and then the consequences are far outweigh, whatever enjoyment you're having, doing what you're doing. But Brandon, man, definitely appreciate you. $25 an hour in Kentucky is really good money. It's good money where I'm from. But I'm happy that you're free, happy that you're able to take care of your family, and that you're living your best life, man. I'm going to, end the show and just let you know, man, definitely appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, sharing your experience. I hope, someone listens to it and says, you know what? I don't want to be in that position where I'm in a gang and there's 15 of us and 50 of them cats and they're just stabbing us. And some people might think, come on, man, 2 hours, they were fighting for 2 hours. I've been in prisons where the cops cannot control anything. And they were always in them private prisons. At CCA in Ohio, I mean, we had something going on there for an hour. And the cops, I mean, you got 300 people fighting and you got 10 female cops that are there trying to break it up. The male cops are here.
I can honestly say that you can look that up. It was not no joke. Like, it was not a joke, man. Them COs stood outside that glass and they didn't want no part of it. They ain't got the weapons to match.
Leave you. So listen, man, I'm going to close the show. Tell people if they like what we're doing, you already know what to do. Hit that like button with respect. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.